Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Mandrake the Great was in a very bad spot. His monthly magic show was in a week, but his usual assistant had broken her leg and would not be able to help. How could he find a new assistant and train them in less than a week? The club where Mandrake was going to play had already sold a lot of tickets for his show, so he couldn't just back out. After walking around his house back and forth for about an hour, he decided to go outside and sit on his porch for a few minutes. As he sat down on the bench, he heard a voice from the lawn next door that made him think. "How are things with you, Mr. Wilson?" asked 18-year-old Andrew Thomas, the son of his neighbor. "Andrew," said Mandrake, "things could be better. My assistant has a broken leg, and I need someone to help me with a show this Saturday. That's not good at all. Well, I hope you find someone to help you soon. If I were a girl, I'd be happy to help you out because I think magic is cool." Mandrake did a double take at Andrew's last statement and took a quick look at Andrew to see how he looked. He thought Andrew was about 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighed about 130 pounds. The boy's hair was short and blonde, and he could have been at least a cousin of the person who works for him now. Mandrake had an idea, and he quickly came up with the right words to say. "So, Andrew, maybe you can still help me. Not all of a magician's helpers are women. Misdirection is the key to magic. The magician himself can sometimes lead the audience astray. Sometimes the assistant is needed to help throw people off. In fact, the person who helps me now is not a woman. Alex is his name, and he is the best helper any magician has ever had." Andrew's face showed that he was interested. Since most assistants wear skimpy clothes, it's likely that most of them are women. The whole misdirection part did make sense, though. He stood there for a moment and thought about it, then said, "Okay, Mr. Wilson, I could come over and see if I can help. When would you like me to visit? Well, you probably should tell your parents where you'll be. I think we can start right away after you do that. My parents will be out of town until next Saturday. I get to take care of the house on my own." Mandrake smiled and said, "Well, then, you might as well finish what you need to do and come over because we have a lot to do." The magician then got up from the bench, walked back into the house, and started thinking about how to make Andrew's job as an assistant easier. He knew that Andrew wouldn't be ready for some of the surprises that were coming, so he had to be careful or it would turn Andrew off. Mandrake couldn't afford to upset the only person who could help him out on Saturday night. He walked downstairs to the rehearsal space and into the spare bedroom, which was used as a dressing room when Alex came over. He looked at the rack of costumes and thought to himself, with a small smile, "I think the boy will do just fine as an assistant. I just hope that he doesn't get too mad when he realizes what he's done." Mandrake worked on the illusions for about 30 minutes before he heard the doorbell ring. He went upstairs and opened the door to his house to welcome Andrew. Andrew hadn't been to Mandrake's house in a long time when he went in. He put his keys on a table in the hallway and tried to figure out where he was. He was still a little nervous about helping the magician, but he didn't have anything better to do that week than hang out at home and do chores. All of his friends were on vacation, so he had to decide between being a sloth or maybe learning some magic. He stood still for a second, then turned to Mandrake and asked, "Okay, so what do I do now?" "We have to go downstairs to the rehearsal room now. Some tricks, like the levitation, need your direct help, while others just need you to bring me things and move other things out of the way. I want to practice each part of the routine a lot before we do a dress rehearsal with costumes and everything." Andrew's mind went off and he said, "Costume? You didn't mention a costume at all. I wouldn't worry too much about that, my dear boy. That shouldn't be your main worry right now. Before we can even think about that, we need to get the timing of these tricks down. Let's get started, and then I'll show you what Alex is wearing." When Mandrake saw the boy relax his shoulders, he let out a sigh of relief. There was no need to worry about him right now. He had to get him involved in the act before he could show him the best trick he had ever made. They went downstairs, where Mandrake showed him all of the tricks in the act. By Thursday, Andrew was used to being Mandrake's assistant. The zigzag trick and the levitation were his favorites to do. The levitation was the big finale of the act, and it was especially fun because he got to float in the air. He wasn't too fond of the parts of the act where it seemed like he was just running errands, but at least he got to learn some magic tricks. Mandrake made him sign a promise not to tell anyone about the illusions. Thursday was the part Andrew was most afraid of. Mandrake had said that the dress rehearsal would happen on that day. He thought that he might have to wear a jumpsuit or something else boring. He had no idea what Mandrake had planned for him. When he knocked on the door, Mandrake invited him in. "Are you all set for the dress rehearsal today?" Andrew said. "I guess so. So, let's go downstairs and I'll show you what your costume looks like. It is on the bed in the spare room." Andrew had never been in the spare bedroom before because the door was always locked. As he went down the stairs, he saw that the door was open. He took one step through the door and looked at the costume on the bed curiously before his eyes grew big and he turned around as if to run out of the house. Mandrake took one look at him and said, "I can't wear that. That is a dress for a girl. I thought you said that your helper was a man. Alex definitely doesn't perform in that kind of outfit." In a calm voice, Mandrake said, "Of course he does, Andrew. That is the best magic trick I've ever done. Alex likes to play dress up as a woman and help a magician. He knows that it helps him throw people off the scent. It's not so bad, really. If you need help, I'll be there for you." Mandrake took the outfit, which was a black velvet leotard with a black glitter fabric dress attached to it. The leotard also had red buttons on the front and a red reflections collar. It had clear shoulder straps that could be adjusted and silver sequins on top of the shoulder straps. A pair of black, elbow-length gloves were also on the bed. "Oh no, I thought it would be fun to help out with magic tricks, but I don't think I can wear that outfit. Andrew, don't worry. It can be done. I've already helped Alex look like a woman. I also need your help right now. You've been practicing with me all weekend, so it's too late to find someone else to help you." The longer Andrew looked, the more he just gave up and gave in to his fate. Slowly, the boy realized that if he left, Mandrake would be very upset and that he liked doing the tricks. "Do you want me to help you put everything on, or do you just want me to help you look more like a girl?" Mandrake questioned. "I guess I have to ask for help with everything." He put the shoulder straps from the leotard over his arms and then realized he looked like a girl from the neck down. "Okay. Now I'm wearing part of my costume, but what about my face and hair? There's no way this will work. Oh, you people who don't believe. Sit down and I'll keep working my magic on you." Mandrake sat the boy down in front of him and reached into the bag on the floor to get a blonde wig. He put it on Andrew's head carefully as Andrew looked confused by the wig. The hair was blonde and curly, but it had a very girly look. Mandrake then put some lipstick and eyeliner on the face and did everything else that was needed. After putting on her makeup, Mandrake stood up and took a step back. "Dear Andrew, I think the rest is up to you." He pointed to the gloves and the 3 black heels that were on the floor. Andrew picked up the shoes and put them on with care. At this point, he was shaking with fear because he couldn't believe what was happening. When he finally put the gloves on his arms, he felt a lot of different things. He looked back at himself in the mirror. He saw a beautiful girl in his reflection, and it surprised him that he looked as good as, or even better than, some of the other assistants to magicians he had seen. "Look, you're beautiful." Andy didn't need to worry about anything. "We can now practice all the tricks in full costume, which is how they will be done on Saturday night. I still feel a little strange. Will no one notice that I'm a guy dressed as a girl?" He sort of joked when he asked this question because he was more worried about messing up the act and felt very strange dressed in this way. It took him more than a minute to stop wobbling on his heels after he stood up. No, not at all. Alex was never found out to be a guy. The hardest part for him was when guys who liked his act asked him about it and he had to talk in a female voice. After Mandrake said that, he thought it might not have been a good idea to say that. It wasn't hard to get him to dress up like a girl, but getting him to act like a girl might have been too much. Oh no. Now it's my turn to talk like a girl. Well, let's finish this practice. Something seems strange to me, and I can't figure out what it is." Andrew didn't want to admit that he was getting used to the outfit and that it was making him feel good. He knew that Mandrake meant for it to be the female version of his name, but it was still strange to hear himself called Andy. He was joking when he said he could sound like a girl, since he could easily change his voice. They moved very slowly through the act to make sure Andy was okay with everything. Andy noticed that when he was dressed as a girl, things seemed very different. As the day went on, Andy also seemed to get more into the trick and act more like a girl. He would wave his hand like a girl, and he was definitely more aware of how he looked as he floated there. As they practiced the last bow, Andy had to make sure he did it in a way that kept up the illusion that he was a woman. He gave a nice bow and went back to the spare bedroom to relax. I guess that wasn't so bad, was it? Andy climbed up on a sofa and laid down. Well, I don't know if I can do it. I do feel a lot better about things now than when we started the day, but I keep having these strange feelings. Are you sure people will believe me when we're on the stage? I mean, a lot of people will be there to watch. We can, of course, trick them. So long as you keep moving and don't give them a chance to look at you closely. You don't need to say anything. I think you'd make a very pretty assistant, and it might be hard for me to let you go when Alex gets better. I don't think this will be more than a one-time thing. As soon as Andy said that, he felt like something in his mind laughed, as if to say, "That's what you think." He lays there, trying to figure out why his mind kept trying to tell him that it wouldn't be a one-time thing. He couldn't think of a reason why he would want to keep pretending to be a girl so he could help a magician. His brain was having trouble understanding things because he still felt tingly from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet. I think I'll just lie down here for a few minutes because that rehearsal was hard. After that, I'll change and go home. Mandrake smiled and said, "I don't care what you want to do. If you don't mind, I need to run to the store to get some food. You can change and leave, but don't forget to lock the door." He went up to the second floor and started walking toward the garage. On the way, Mandrake grabbed his phone and made a call from the garage. "How are you? Even though I'll be gone for a while to take care of some things, you can come over to the house now. There's a chance that my new assistant is there, and she is quite cute. I'll be back in a few hours." As Mandrake drove out of the garage, he smiled and silently hoped that Andy would stay so that his nephew could meet her. As soon as Mandrake left the garage, Andy got up and thought that now that the magician was gone, he could look around the house a bit more. He went up to the first floor and started looking around the kitchen. He then went to the living room and saw a photo album. The doorbell rang just as he started to pick up the photo album. He was filled with fear. Who could be standing there? Should he let the person in? Since he put on the costume, that little voice in the back of his mind kept telling him yes. Try to trick the person at the door by making it a game. The doorbell rang again as he stood there. As he walked slowly from the living room to the hallway, his heels made a slight clicking sound as they moved over the floor. When Andy opened the door, he saw a young man standing there. The boy seemed to be about the same age as Andy, but Andy was a lot smaller. This boy was about 6 feet tall and looked like some kind of athlete. He had a lot of muscle, but not as much as a football player. At first, Andy was worried about how strong this guy was. Then, all of a sudden, she thought it would be bad if he found out she was a guy dressed as a girl. "Oh, you must work for my uncle now. My name is Greg. About a mile away is where I live. I decided to stop by to see him. Is he at home now?" Andy answered in his best female voice. "No, he just left to do some errands and get some groceries. I don't know when he will come back for sure. Yes, I work for him now. I'm called Andy. Andy, it's nice to meet you. Let me come in and wait for him, please." After some thought, Andy decided that letting him in would be better than making the magician mad. "Come right in. He probably won't take too long. I need to clean up downstairs. We just got done with a practice." Greg smiled and said, "That's neat. I'll just hang out for a while up here." Greg told himself that his uncle was right. Andy was very cute. Greg went into the living room, sat down, and turned on the TV. Andy felt better when he heard the TV turn on as he went down the stairs. He was sure that Greg had been fooled at first, but the longer he stayed, the more likely it was that Greg would figure out his secret. Andy was stuck because he couldn't change back into his guy clothes and go home. He had to keep up the idea that he was a girl. After he fixed his gloves, he started picking up the magic tools that were lying around. Andy was done cleaning up after half an hour, but Mandrake still hadn't come back. He laid down on the sofa, shut the door, and laid back down to relax. Andy's heels hit the floor, and he looked up at the ceiling. He heard a knock at the door all of a sudden. "Do you feel okay in there?" Greg said so. "You have been here for a long time." "Nothing is wrong. I'm just tired from practicing so much today. May I come in for just a second? I want to get something from that room that is mine." Andy was getting nervous. What in here could Greg possibly want? He felt like he was trapped and open. Still, that strange voice kept telling him everything would be fine. "You can come in, but please be quick because I'm trying to unwind." He walked into the room and went to the table where his magazine had been sitting since the last time he saw his uncle. As he reached for the magazine, he said something quickly that caught Andy off guard. "Andy, you're a very cute girl. If I had a girlfriend, I would want her to look like you." When he heard that, Andy's eyes got big and he turned red. She felt cold, but a small voice in the back of his mind told him that this was the moment he had been waiting for. "Greg, I don't even know what to say. Thank you for the nice thing you said. If I had a boyfriend, I would want him to look as good as you do." "I can't believe I said that. What on earth was I thinking?" Thanks for watching. The rest won't be viewable on YouTube, so check out Patreon if you want more.